Shalom Akim, Kahalayim La Yahaba Shim Yashaba Shin Hakudash, and double honest agreements on apostles. Thadi Yahshua for the strength in order to make this video, and Yaratazah that you find it edifying, which means something to build you up, and also exhorting, which means something to also encourage you too. Because we know that we are living in these times of which we're getting very super close to really when Esau says, all right, you can't exist in society unless you take that MOTB. Unless you take that thing, insert it into the hand, you can't partake in any societal activities. Banking and paying rent, bills, earning money from a job, or whatever livelihood that you have, whatever activities that you gotta do, that you gotta deal with, or any responsibilities that you have currently, it won't be so unless the person takes the MOTB. So that's when our faith in Yahweh Shem Yahshua must be strong. Really strong, but it will also increase in that time as well. It has to increase in that time because we will actually be living it out too. You gotta visualize it in your mind first. But anyways, Yaratazar probably quick video. I always say that, but sometimes the spirit goes on for longer, but we'll see. Anyways, so as you can see, it says huge outage disrupts websites and apps across the globe, man. We've been having some internet outages or server outages from the past few years, man. I think it was either last year or 2 years ago. Microsoft also had some kind of a server outage, which it affected flights. If I recall correctly, between last year or 2 years ago, can't really pinpoint when it was, but I know it was within the last few years. And then now you got more websites, more servers, which websites are pretty much placed on servers. Servers are just computers, like the computer in your house, if you do have one, with a laptop. If that was to be put on a rack or something, a whole bunch of them, that would be then called a server. So the point is, when there's something happening to those servers, there can't be any websites. I mean, there can't be any access to websites. Not to get too into the details. But yeah, the point is, it says huge outage disrupts websites and apps across the globe. And it includes banking ones as well. So really, this is some fundamental stuff for which society runs off. But of course, if these fundamental parts of society go down, that means people's lives will be disrupted. But anyways, let's continue now. I'm gonna bring out some precepts.
So the breaking news this morning that many Americans are waking up to massive internet outage impacting major websites, major apps, gaming platforms, including Amazon, AT&T. Just look at this list: Delta Airlines, Disney Plus, Facebook, Hulu, Snapchat, United Airlines, Venmo. More than even what you're talking.
Yeah. So let's see this. So Venmo. I don't really know too much about Venmo, but AT&T, I know that goes into telecommunications over there, in terms of being able to make calls and whatnot. Mobile data. Coinbase, that goes into crypto, Snapchat, messaging, Facebook. Let's look at the core ones. But certain of these are just for entertainment. Core ones, it says United Airlines, Delta, AWS. AWS also is involved in websites being hosted. Servers. So of course, if servers go, many companies rely on AWS in order to host their websites, which people can access, and it can be certain banks as well. But yeah, let's continue.
Then I'm even mentioning there. At the center of this is Amazon Web Services, that major provider of cloud services for all sorts of companies. AWS says now it has identified the root cause and also saying this, that we continue to observe recovery across most of the affected AWS services. We continue to work towards full resolution and will provide updates as we have more information to share. Said another, we're not saying a lot right now. Let's get over to CNN's Bryn Gingras. I started noticing this.
See, the Most High's made Esau's system weak, man, and he's weakening it more and more and more. Right, let's get. Oh yeah, I'm even looking at it. So this is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So Most I can easily have an angel just tinker around the servers, cause an internet blackout, and then it's doom and gloom from there, man. Jacob's trouble going to really be felt. That's all it really takes. All it takes is just an electrical shutdown or some kind of a mishap with those major servers, as she just said, AWS, Amazon Web Services. With certain companies that rely on them, and these companies are which people rely on. For example, banking and purchasing food and things of that sort for so-called necessities. All of that, people are going to start shivering because of it, man. As I named the video, servers down, panic comes. Hold on, let me see this. Panic comes when necessities are taken. And I put necessities in quotations because we know that, as the scriptures say, man shall not live by bread alone. Hold on. As Yahushua said, man. Could be in Matthew 4. Let's check. Yep. So this is Matthew 4:4, but he answers, so when Yahushua has been tempted of saying, Matthew 4:4, and he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High. And where are the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushua? These very scriptures of which we're reading right now. So, of course, we're living, our lives are sustained by the words, by our faith within the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. That's really it. So just because the famine is going to come doesn't mean that we're going to be in some state where we're going to have to worry. No, because Yahweh Shem Yahushua provided Israel food back in the day when we left Egypt, man. Exodus. Hold on. Either Exodus 14 or 15 or 16, one of those. Hold on, I don't think it's that. Just hold on. Yeah, this was when Israelites were singing praises to Yahweh for, of course, the escape that he allowed for them to have for protecting them as they went through the Gulf of Suez, which is that part of the Red Sea. Anyways, where's that part, man? Yeah, as it says there, the Most High provides water. So of course, even then, yeah, he provided water. And I think the next chapter he provided food. Yeah, as it says there. Hold on. So he provided water in the previous chapter. From the bitter tree, the bitter waters converted to sweet waters. When a tree was casted into those bitter waters, it turned sweet. I'm just summarizing here, Akim. But I want to get to the food part, man. This is supposed to exhort you, so that's why we read the things of old, so that we get encouraged. Hold on, where is it, man? I just want to get straight to the point. Actually, hold on. I'm going to start from verse 3. It says, Exodus 16:3, and the children of Israel, hold on, the children of Israel said unto them, would to the Most High we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, and when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. You can imagine Jake's reaction, man. Y'all want to kill us? In American accent. How Jake will start talking and complaining, when the pressure's on. Which, the boys, what's that saying, man? They got too, majority of them got too comfortable with the fact that, they're good. You gotta be grateful. They weren't really, how can I say this? They were grateful, as we know from the song that was sang in Exodus 15, from the deliverance that Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, because Yahushua was in the chariot, But through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua saving Israel, they were grateful. But then it's like they began to become complacent, because of the fact that they started to murmur, as it says in verse 2, and the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. You know when a person's hungry and they'll start murmuring like, where's the food, man? Where's the food? And whatnot. Anyways, that's just it, man. They became complacent slightly. So it says, I'm gonna just say it now, right? They became complacent. That's why they told Moses this, man. And then read verse 3 in the NLT. So if only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt, they moaned. See what kind of folly. It says, because it takes a certain type of spirit to be able to say that. It says, if only the Lord had killed us in Egypt. You don't want the Most High to kill you, man. That's the thing, or else it's going to be in a gruesome way. Judgment. Now it says they moaned. There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted, but yet it's like they're forgetting at this moment that they were in bondage, man. They were in bondage, flipping out to make brick without actually having straw, the actual material that he needed. Now it says, there we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted, but now you have brought us into the wilderness to starve us all to death. You see that flipping making they became complacent, man. As I said there, they became complacent. Anyways, let's read Exodus 2, because I was talking about bondage. That's the thing that Jake forgot, man. Pharaoh was hard on y'all, man. Anyways, where is that part, man? Is it? No, it's Exodus 1, isn't it? Yeah, it's Exodus 1. Near the latter parts of the chapter. Actually, not the latter parts. Yeah, right here. It says it from verse 12, Exodus 1 and 12, but the more they afflicted them, so the more the Egyptians afflicted the Israelites, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. Let's see what rigor says there. With severity, if I recall correctly. Severity. Yep, as it says here, perek, which the root word of perek, what was it again? Rigor, root word perek. As it says it obviously in the modern Hebrew there, but it says it harshness, severity, cruelty. So, Pharaoh had that harshness, man, upon Israel. Now it says in verse 14, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field, and all their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. It was severe, man. So this is what Jake was forgetting over here. Being complacent. Why can't you ask nicely? anyways, where was that? So verse 3, Exodus 16 and verse, actually no, I just read that. Exodus 16 and 4, then said the Lord Yahweh unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or not. So this was like a test. Let me read it in the NLT. Exodus 16 and 4. And the Lord Yahweh said to Moses, look, I am going to rain down food from heaven for you. Each day the people can go out and pick up as much food as they need for that day. I will test them in this to see whether or not they will follow my instructions. So the Mosai was you can see that as a refinement process, man. It's like, okay, let's test them if they're going to actually, listen. Which, by the way, the ones that don't listen, the Most High put the Spirit upon them to not listen. The ones that do listen, the Most High put the Spirit upon them to listen. Again, man's goings are of the Lord's. Yeah, I'm going to get back to topic, kind of going on a tangent here. But I think the reason why I mentioned this... Hold on. I think it's Proverbs 20 and 24, actually. Proverbs 20 and then 24. Proverbs 20 and 24. Man's goings are of the Lord Yahweh. How can a man then understand his own way? So, as it says in the NLT, the Lord Yahweh directs our steps. So why try to understand everything along the way? See? Sometimes you just won't. Because the Most High makes things happen, man. So certain things that happen, It's that you may be wondering, what in the world? I don't get why this is happening. Sometimes you don't need to understand. You just gotta roll with it in the spirit and in the wisdom and guidance of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Anyway, so yeah, that was me referring to the fact that certain Israelites that didn't want to obey the Most High, they got punished, they got tarnished, and then the ones that did obey, they were fine. The one that was enough for themselves, they gathered bread enough for themselves and enough for their family, man. Apart from obviously the day before the Sabbath where they collected twice as much. But anyways, let's get back to the video. I kind of went on a tangent there, but yeah, the point is that we don't need to fear with all this, the famine to come and all these internet outages and whatnot, because we know Yahweh Shem Yahshua will provide for us, as need be. And we're gonna have enough to eat, and really in that time, in consideration of everyone else, we're gonna be thriving, man. And we say that in faith in Yahweh Shem Yahshua. Because in that time where, you got these guys of him of the world, they may be enjoying themselves, maybe in abundance. But in that time, we're the ones who are going to be abundant in the spirit, man. Because, we'll be supplied. But before I get more precepts, let's get into this.
Seeing this morning on multiple levels as it was unfolding. What's happening?
Yeah, and that's basically it, right? So they connect the business to us, the consumer, through apps on your phone. So if you're waking up, you're tapping on an app, you're like, how come it's not working?
Exactly.
This is likely the problem.
You're getting like the ring of death.
Yeah, the ring of death.
Exactly.
And by the way, yeah, I think that ring of death was referring to Xbox there. One of the gaming consoles. But anyways, by the way, this can also affect that the digital ID, because Keir Starmer intends for it to be an app, and of course, considering the fact that that app runs off of servers, if the servers then get turned off, how are you then going to prove your identity then? Assuming, obviously this first, I say first, but this step closer to the MOTB. It's not the final step. The final step is the MOTB, but for this step closer, in order to prove, one's identity, and if it's all digitized, all it takes is a blackout. As I keep repeating, all it takes is a blackout, some kind of cyber attack, some kind of a hacker event, major hacker event to just disrupt Esau's system. They play a bit more.
Actually saying, please submit to technical issues. Keep doing that, even though we're not answering them right now, or we are trying to get to them. There's basically a huge backlog. As you just said, there's been some significant progress in this. This happened way overnight. So there has been some, significant progress, but still there's a huge backlog of all these apps and all these companies that are looking to basically get restored. Yeah. So there's even issues at the airport. I'm hearing about people who are trying to check into their flights and they can't because they can't do it through the phone. So there's so many different companies, as you've just listed, a whole bunch of them: Amazon, AT&T, Delta, gaming services, right, like Roblox, even cryptocurrency companies are being affected. Coinbase essentially saying, don't worry, your money is safe. So there are companies now having to also just kind of respond to consumers at this point. But like you just said, what Amazon Web Services...
Yeah, but in that time, it won't be a case of your money is safe. This is just really the best way to view it. It's a temporary tool within a temporary time. That time being Esau's kingdom, which is temporary, before Yahushua establishes his kingdom, the kingdom of Yasharallah, the kingdom of Israel. But the thing is, that temporary time has also a temporary tool, which is obviously this currency of Esau Edom, man. As Yahushua said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Pay your taxes, pay your bills, or whatnot. But the point being is that it's only temporary. It's a temporary tool. You use it whilst you can. You use the cash, you use the money whilst you can. But just know in your mind that there'll be a time where it won't be used anymore. In fact, it will even be useless in that time. Remember, digits on the screen and just paper backed by nothing. Anyways, all right, let's get a precept now. Alright, Isaiah 19 and verse 14, because I did mention the point about the Most High's weakening their systems. Isaiah 19 and 14, the Lord Yahweh hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof. As a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. So of course, all the works of Egypt, all their systems and servers and all the infrastructure that they need for their society, the Most High will weaken those systems to the point where people won't be able to. Well, people don't really trust their government nowadays, anyways. And that's just an increase. That's just an ever increasing number as well. Once people, as every event that Esau launches, the Black Swan events and whatnot, the less trust people have in those governments. So let's read in the NLT, Isaiah 19:14 in the NLT. The Lord Yahweh has sent a spirit of foolishness on them, so all their suggestions are wrong. They caused Egypt to stagger like a drunk in his vomit. So the Most High has removed the wisdom from Teman, like Jeremiah 49 and about verse 7. Which means they're going to start operating in a way that would be deemed foolish. Concerning Jeremiah 49:7, concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman, which is one of the descendants of Esau? Is counsel perished with the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? They're known as the Temanites, or known as the so-called Germans of today as well, because they're seen as the smart ones of Esau, Edom, in his family line. Anyways, so that's that point there, and Esau's going to be done up. Let me play some more, then I'll close it out.
On to consumers at this point. But like you just said, what Amazon Web Services is saying is that they are seeing significant signs of recovery and they're continuing to work towards that full resolution, and they're going to continue to provide information as we have been seeing overnight, continuous updates. But like I said, there's still a huge backlog here. So if you wake up and you can't figure out why something is not working, this is likely the culprit. Yeah. And we're going to continue.
Yeah, and that can easily happen with the banks as well. Keep that in mind. And let me get this final preset and wrap up the video. Obadiah 1 and verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me to the ground? Who shall bring me to the ground? And that's Esau's pride speaking there. Well, as it literally said, the pride of thine heart, the pride of thy mind. Verse 4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai. So Esau's infrastructure, thinking that I think the right word could be impeccable. You can't. He thinks he may be invincible, but he's not invincible. He can be. He will be destroyed. That's his destiny. It's inevitable. But anyways, I'm gonna link it to the description. Yahbashim Yashai Brakatha, Kahalayim La Yahbashim Yashai Bashir Kudash. And once more, double honors to the great apostles and the elder bishops as well. Shalom and Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Barak Atham. Shalom.